Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, and we are super excited for today's guest. I mean, as you guys know, we have jumped into this thing with Jim's Market, with Medford rec hockey and Medford related teams. I'll say that. I know some teams don't have all Medford people, but we cover it anyways. Listen, you score a hat trick, you deserve some love. So, we've been teaming up with B Boys, and Jim's Market has been giving away their famous B Boys. You guys know if you've never been there before, holy moly, you need to like go there tomorrow morning for breakfast. But and if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But these girls, they earned the right to be here today because they both scored hat tricks in the same game, an annihilation, 11-0 annihilation of some team that they played. And these girls scored 7 of these 11 goals. So very, very impressive. So from our end of the bargain, we have these superstars on the podcast. We got to hype them up, talk a little bit about it, and and find out a little bit more about who these girls are. So I don't know how it looks on your guys' screens if you're just listening. But Taylor's at the bottom of my screen. Taylor scored 4 goals to earn B here today. And Sam, who's in the top next to me on the screen here, she scored a hat trick. She scored, your general hat trick here. I mean, it's 3 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, 4 goals that you lose count after a while. But girls, welcome to the podcast. We're super excited to have you on here. And we can't wait to talk to you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah. So is this your first podcast ever?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I have to be kind of cool, right? Like I have to be kind of cool. It has to be kind of a cool thing that you might want to share and let other people listen to. But let's get down to it. I mean, you guys scored 11 goals. You scored 7 of them. First of all, I'm just going to throw this out there. Is a hat trick pretty common for you girls? Because listen, scoring a hat trick, scoring a hat trick. But you do this a lot. Not that you're bragging or anything. I'm just kind of curious of where you are at the hat trick meter here.
Kinda.
Not
Yeah.
really.
So in a season, I'll throw this at you, Taylor. In a season, let's pretend there's 20 games. I'm just making this up. How many times would you score a hat trick in a 20 game season?
Well, my first 2 games, I scored one hat trick and then one set of 4 goals.
So you have 7
So,
goals in 2 games.
yeah. So it's like
Okay.
kinda common, not really though.
Okay, so I mean, you're talking, so we'll start with you. You're a seventh grader, correct? You're a seventh grader as you're talking here. 7 goals in 2 games. I mean, is this a common occurrence in teams that you play on? You typically score on a lot of goals, or is just kind of your game's evolving a little bit this season? You're starting hot out the gate. Like, what is it?
I usually score like 1 or 2 goals a game
So
sometimes.
the average is just up. The average is just climbing a little bit. Okay. Well, I mean, that's impressive. So, what part of your game? I mean, scoring every single game. I mean, I played hockey my entire life, and one thing I could not do very well was put the puck in the net. Right, I could do everything but. So, it is a skill to be able to do it, and to be able to do it consistently. What part of your game would you say that you're able to score and dominate? What part of your offensive game right now do you feel like is just kind of clicking for you, or has been for a bit?
Um, well, I like my line mates a lot. And then like we like to like pass it around and like get in front
So
and like
good
the
chemistry. You
boys.
guys have pretty good chemistry. Have you playing with these girls for like just this season, or have you played with them for a bit?
So I played with one girl last year and then the other girl like they moved the other girl to center, so then they moved another girl to our line and she's like the same person, so she like is like the same
Yeah,
as
so
us.
it's nice when you have chemistry with your line mates. I mean, Sam, is that something you would say for you as well? I mean, first I'll ask you the same question. I mean, you scoring a lot of hat tricks, is this a common occurrence for you? Is just something that's kind of rare? Like, how would you say that is to your game?
I don't score a lot of hat tricks, maybe an average, maybe like 1 goal, a couple of games, but not really a lot of hat tricks.
So in a 20 game season, what would you say? Are you maybe getting 1 or 2 hatties a game? Is that what you say it would be?
Uh, Maybe just like 1 or 2 goals, maybe not really hat tricks, but
Okay. Okay. So that's great. So you're scoring. Same thing. Maybe not scoring at a higher rate, right? But you're still able to score. And like I said, scoring's not difficult for you. What do you equate it to? Like you being able to score and score consistently. What part of your offensive game would you say is kind of your strength?
well, I think I can connect with my teammates easily with my line mates, and I think we make pretty good plays, and that's how we get goals.
Now you're in high school. You're a freshman in high school. I mean, you haven't started obviously your season yet. It's still in fall season, but
Yeah.
hockey is kind of right around the corner for you. I mean, talk about playing at a, you're playing at a highly competitive level right now, and hockey season for you at the high school level is like right around the corner. I mean, is hockey year round for you? Do you play hockey just like nonstop?
Yeah, pretty much year
Yeah.
round.
Yeah. And talk about that. I mean, obviously that's a lot. I mean, you're playing for a lot of different teams. Maybe some teams have the same people on them, but for the most part, you're playing with a lot of different people. I mean, going into the high school world, I mean, do you feel like you can walk on and really help out with maybe varsity right away? I mean, do you feel confident in your skills in being able to do that?
Yeah, I feel highly confident in my skills.
That's
Mm.
great. I mean, that's awesome. And what, you heard chemistry from your teammate Taylor kind of mention, chemistry. Is that something with your line mates would you say is really important for you and playing the lot of hockey that you play?
Yeah, I think it's really important. That's how we make plays and that's how we get the goals. So I think it's very important.
Okay, cool, cool. So the next thing I want to talk about, I always bring this up, and I think he gets like your coach always like, I'm sure he blushes like 10 shades of red. But talk about Coach Dana. I mean, I love Coach Dana. I mean, I say this every single time I like someone brings him up, and I've had a lot of mutual guests on here that know him or he connected us, and people that I work with now that he connected us. And I think he's a great guy. I mean, he seems like a motivated, really cares about, the people that he works with or the people that he coaches. And, just I think that goes a long way and like wanting to play hard for somebody. I mean, talk about Coach Dana, because when you see Coach Dana, like I first time I met Coach Dana, I was like, man, I should have rolled up with like two more people. Like, but he is like the nicest person on the planet, truthfully.
Yeah, he is. He really is. He cares about everybody, his players. He really does care about them.
Yeah, yeah. Is he pretty funny guy on the ice? How would you
Oh,
describe him? I can see him being really funny. Yeah,
oh yeah, he's a blast, let me tell you. He really does care. He puts a lot of effort into us. He likes to make things fun. He likes to give us homework and everything. It's he's a really great guy.
is he always the first one there?
Yeah.
Like, you ever not show up and Coach Dana, like you beat Coach Dana there? Like, do you ever beat Coach Dana there? Or is he always there before
I
you?
think I beat him maybe like twice.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure his record is tremendous of being the first one there through the
Hmm.
season consistently throughout. And I even saw it collegiately when we covered his team on a college level. It was impressive. I mean, he's obviously a good coach. He's able to coach kind of all different levels and teach the game. And I think that's important. Some coaches coach for different reasons, but he coaches fundamental good hockey, sound hockey throughout all different groups. So that's kind of cool. Um, so we kind of were joking off here a little bit. Part of the reason you guys came on and we talked about this is obviously you scoring a hat trick, and we teamed up with the place in Medford called Jim's Market, which you ladies were not too familiar with. You need to go. Like I am telling you this is we do a lot of work with them, so obviously I'm biased here a little bit, but you're talking a breakfast sandwich that's the size of a sub, with all different types of combinations that you can put in it. And they have the best barbecue sauce, James River barbecue sauce. That I mean, kids are. I was eating there. I brought my kids there for dinner. It's a true story. I brought them for dinner there Thursday night, and some little kid walks in with his dad with the scorecard. With that, he got a hat trick, and then he was getting a b-boy, and like he showed his scorecard, and they gave him a b-boy. And afterwards, I was like, I'm doing the podcast, so I connected with his mom, and he's coming on like next week. So, th- you gotta go. I mean, could Coach talk up these b-boys at all to you guys? Did he tell you
Not
anything about it?
really.
You don't know anything about this at
Uh,
all?
I think he's mentioned it to me at least twice. But
Yeah,
yeah, my dad grew up in Malden, so he was telling me about it. So
yeah. So your
mhm.
dad knows. I mean, your
Yeah.
dad knows when you know. And I would tell him, I mean, he should have your scorecards. Maybe he can grab b-boys for you guys, showing that you got hat tricks,
Mhm.
and get you some b-boys. I think you have to understand what we're talking about, understand what your father means and talks about, and it's worth it. I'm hyping it up because it's real. Like it's good. And they have a million different subs there with so many different combinations. It's a very cool spot too. They have a TV in there, a lot of places to sit, cool vintage stuff. I mean, it is a fun little spot. Um, but I do this podcast, but I'm also a teacher. I'm a fifth grade teacher, elementary school. And so I always say like athletics and education, academics go hand in hand with each other, especially when you get to the upper middle school level to high school level. Because if you want to play at that next level or go to prep eventually somewhere or whatever it is, like you need those grades and those have to be kind of consistent with each other. What subjects are your favorite in school? Give me a subject that's your favorite in school, and then I'll ask one on top of it of an all-time teacher, whether it's a current teacher or someone in the past. It could be starting down at preschool, like an all-time teacher for you, but also favorite subject. I want to hear what you guys kind of love in the classroom a little bit.
I like math. I really like math. So
Same.
It's my
mm,
favorite subject to teach. I think it's like, I mean, tell me where you never need numbers. Like, to know how to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Like, you need to always. What's a least favorite subject?
Mm, it
science.
changes. Probably
Yeah,
science.
it changes.
Wow. So you both score a hat trick and you both just dislike the same subjects in school. I mean, I'm understanding the trend here of what's going on. But who's an all-time teacher? I'll give you guys both a chance to kind of chat about a teacher. I love asking this, and I ask high school kids on that come on here all the time, even that's college kids that have come on here. And we talk about this. But just I always love to give a shout out to a teacher here. But is there someone who stands out to you guys and maybe give a little bit of love of why it is that they stand out to you or maybe what they did?
Maybe that would be my eighth grade teacher, Mr. Fryman. He was always wanting to help me out. He was a math teacher, so he helped me really enjoy math again because I was struggling a little bit, but he started to help me out and he was one of my favorite teachers ever.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mine
Very
was probably my third grade because
Third grade. Okay, elementary school, my level. Why? Let's hear it.
it was her first year, so she wasn't like really like used to like all the rules. So she like let us have a lot of fun, and like it was kind of like COVID kind of. So we like went in like 2 days a week, and it was like she always made the days fun.
God. I mean, a first year teacher, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you guys clearly were trying to see what you could get away with and pushed every button. And then on top of it, you were only in the school for a couple of days a week. So yeah, that must have been an awesome year, actually. Um, well, that's great. As I said, I'm a teacher, and I always think back to when I was an athlete in school, but also just kids that I've taught and seeing them go through school. Some kids that I've actually coached, at a highly competitive level, and it's always nice to see kind of that cross connection with some great coaches and some great academic teachers as well that you have in the classroom. Falling in love with hockey. I mean, you guys both seem like you're hockey, hockey, hockey. Do you play any other sports? Are you involved in any other sports, or is hockey kind of just your thing?
I
Uh,
play soccer and lacrosse.
Soccer
I
and
played
lacrosse.
varsity soccer.
Okay. I was waiting for you to say lacrosse too, because you guys' answers have just been the same, but at least one of them are the same. But I mean, soccer is, I feel like soccer is a sport that talk about getting you into shape, especially for you guys. I feel like muscle wise, I mean, I played football and then played hockey, and I used to always find that I think I was in great shape playing football. And then my first week of hockey tryouts, I was like so sore and my legs were killing me. I'm like, how am I in terrible shape? But I feel like soccer prepares you probably muscle wise a lot better for hockey as far as stopping and going, changing direction, thing like that. That's great to hear that you guys play, other sports as well. I mean, obviously we mentioned hockey, 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 but to kind of well verse you, and do you feel like in different sports and maybe not. I ask this question sometimes too. Like, I know in football, I was such a different type player mentally than I was in hockey. I was a lot quieter in hockey and just kind of played hard. In football, I was kind of more vocal. And do you feel like you're different people in different sports, or do you feel like your mentality is kind of the same of who you are?
Kind of the same.
Yeah.
Feel like kind of the same. I mean, I think it's a little different with being physical and all. With hockey, you got all this padding on. With soccer, not really. So it's kind of the same, kind of different.
Yeah. I'm always intrigued by that because I get some athletes who kind of say like, yeah, like this certain sport is my sport. So like when I'm in this sport, I am just like different, and so it's always interesting to kind of hear maybe too what you learn from other leaders from different sports and how you take that into the other sports that you play. So um that's great. And then obviously for you guys too, I mean, like I mentioned, high school season's around the corner. You guys play kind of hockey year round, but what are some stuff you do for fun? Like, what are some things you enjoy outside of like playing sports and playing hockey? Like, you guys are just kids, and kids do things besides just play sports. You're not just athletes. Is anything that you do that's like a passion or an instrument that you play, or just something cool about you that is just people don't know or maybe not know as much about you?
Mm,
Not
maybe
really.
I do art. I mean, I like to paint or draw. So,
Okay, talk to me. What kind of like do you draw certain things, or you just kind of free sketcher? Like, how do you do it?
free sketch, random things. I mean, whatever just comes to mind. So,
Okay. Okay. What about you, Taylor?
Um, I don't really know.
Okay, maybe still figuring that stuff out, maybe a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I understand. When I played sports, it was just like sports, sports, sports. I guess I never really thought about that stuff. But I love playing chess. Chess was always a game. Chess and Stratego. I think something about making me constantly have to think and play offense and play defense, and I don't know, something about that just like always seemed to kind of keep me focused on what I did, and so on. So, yeah, I mean, it's great having you guys on here. I mean, I- when I played hockey, I mean, hat tricks weren't. I mean, I felt like maybe in a season I'd score one, maybe two hat tricks, maybe. But I feel like every week there's like four or five kids that are scoring hat tricks. I mean, do hat tricks happen a lot here, or is it just kind of a weird occurrence that you guys put 7 out of the 11 goals in that? Or is this like, I mean, I know Taylor, you kind of said this happens a lot with you, but I mean, do hat tricks typically happen a lot outside of you guys?
Mm,
kind of.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys must be winning district championships, state championships. I mean, you guys scoring nonstop goals. I mean, either that or all the goalies just can't save anything. I don't know, but I'm sure it's you guys. Is there a go-to move that you have? Like you're on a breakaway. I mean, it's not like we have goalie, your opponent goalie listening to you here, but do you guys have like a go-to move, like a triple D glove side type Mighty Duck style, or is there kind of like you just see how the goalie's balanced or whatever?
Guardians usually deke and then like their foot's like a little bit off the post and I slide it in. Or I do my slap shot.
So you go right in front of the net and just blast a slap shot?
No, I do it from like right above the circles usually.
Okay.
Um,
Are you a low shooter, high shooter? How do you look for deflections? I mean, how you shooting?
mm,
Or you just don't know,
depends.
you just wind up and see where it goes.
Yeah, I just yeah.
Well, the good thing is when you're winding up and seeing where it's going, it's going in the net. You scored 4 goals. So that ratio is pretty good if you're just winding up and shooting. Keep doing that because that seems to be working for you. Um, Is there a favorite hockey player you guys have like had growing up? In either, I mean, like I know this year we covered the Mass Pirates. It's actually the hat that I'm wearing here, but they shared an arena. Look at the PWHPA, the women's professional hockey team that went to the championship and played there a lot. We caught a few games there, and it was a really fun time. But for you, is there anybody? It could be family, it could be if someone that motivated you, but is there somebody in hockey that you look up to, you emulate their game a little bit, you definitely pay attention when they're in town or they're on TV?
Probably
Um,
David Pasternak.
Okay, so local guy. I mean, what a comparison game wise. Like you love watching because obviously he scores a lot of goals and he's offensively our best players. That kind of your style of game. Is that how you look at yourself when you play?
Um, kinda.
yeah, kind
Kinda.
of.
What would you say, Sam? What would you say?
Maybe Brad Marchand.
Okay, so local guys for sure growing up. I mean, obviously we don't have as many Stanley Cups as we probably want, right? But we had a hockey team that's pretty competitive that was always in it for a pretty long time with a lot of the same names like Chara and Bergeron and Marchand and Pasternak's been there for a while now, but McAvoy. So those names have been around for a while you guys, obviously are playing and And you hear that. So I'm always curious of, um, you know, who people look up to or how they look at their game a little bit. And I'll ask you this last question just because, you guys you seem like you're pretty active. You play hockey consistently throughout the year, not just in one season. You do play other sports and you're pretty well rounded in that sense. You obviously have people outside of all that too. What would be your guys' advice? And I kind of ask this question differently all the time, but I'm going to ask this to you guys this way. What would be your advice to like yourself like 2 years ago? Like when you kind of start like you're obviously in different spots. 2 years ago, you were in fifth grade. You would have been literally in my classroom, right? And 2 years ago, you would in kind of her spot, in Taylor's spot. You were in, seventh, eighth grade and before high school. But you obviously play the game in that you work really hard and you worry about a lot of things and you maybe stress about things sometimes or certain things just kind of you thought were so important or maybe think were so important. As a couple of years go by, you're like, man, I stressed about this for nothing, or I worried about this for nothing, or I can't believe this happened. I never thought, whatever it is. But what would be your advice to yourself a couple of years ago? Someone who's listening that a few years ago they were in your spot. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them about, hey, in a few years, don't worry, this
I would
happened?
say keep going because when you start putting the effort in, you'll see the results and don't give up on that.
Because sometimes it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's super hard to go to a bunch of games when your friends maybe are going out and doing something fun or being away at a tournament and you feel like you miss out on stuff. And that's great advice because, yeah, I mean, keep going because when that stuff gets tough, sometimes people are very quick to just say, it's not worth it. I can skip this. I don't have to go to that. I could be late. Like, and then you really start like kind of getting away from yourself on that. That's great advice. Taylor, what about you?
Like, don't give up if you're down by like 2 goals because you can always like come back.
So would you say that's like a mental thing for you? Like sometimes you found yourself in a situation that you immediately like, oh, we lost this game already. Like we stink, blah, blah, blah. And then you realize like, okay, sometimes yeah, in hockey that can be made up probably fairly quick, right? It really can be. Like in other sports, it might be different when a team's up 2 scores on you, depending on the sport. But yeah, in hockey, you can fairly recover from that quick. And I think it's important because 2 years from now, you're going to have advice from yourself or where you are sitting right now, being like, oh man, I think about when I coached and things that I worry about, and then I saw how it played out. I was like, oh, I worried about this and I never even had to worry about it, or I had to worry about very little. So that's great advice. And so, listen, we're glad we were able to get you guys on here today. Hopefully, we have fans out of you guys now, but we are obviously humongous fans of you guys and what you're doing. And it's important to realize. And I think we do this podcast because you are student athletes. The expectation for you is to obviously academics comes first at any level and in anything that you do because that's what you take with you forever. But being able to balance practice and balance playing multiple sports and balance your academics with all that and doing well and all that. We didn't even jump into your grades and stuff like that. Just because I probably should have checked with you guys before I started asking what your grades are. And you're like, oh, I got all D's. No, I know you girls aren't, but I'm just saying that's happened once. But you guys are putting in the work, and I think that student athletes deserve to have a light shined on them because they have a full-time job on top of a full-time job, and it's being a student and then being a student athlete, and that goes together. And when you're in high school like you are now, you realize how important that is that you represent your town and you represent them with a certain dignity and you represent your family's name and all that. A lot of that comes into play as you get a little bit older. So great advice. Great having you guys on here. And you got to get to Jim's Market. I mean that. If you guys get there, send us a picture. We'll throw it on our social media page to get your reaction because I know you're not walking out of there being like this was a waste. You're gonna walk out of there being like, we gotta go here again. So we're really lucky to have you guys on it today. We're really happy to have you guys on here today. And congrats and keep scoring goals. I want to know how many goals you have at the end of the season since you guys seem to score, you say like every game. Like I will be curious of overall stats. So keep those stats so we can throw them on our page. But thank you guys for coming on here today.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank you
for
for
having
having
me.
us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, this is Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis. Like I said, Taylor and Sam scoring Hatties, 7 out of 11 goals. I think 5 out of their last 6 goals. Just a dominant performance. They did it together. So, from Beyond Podcast, I'm your host, Anthony Petralis. Till next time.